The night of May 18th, the Black Sea. Out of the darkness, a Russian-made Shahed drone slammed directly into a Chinese-owned cargo ship called the KSL Deyang. The deck caught fire. The crew, entirely Chinese nationals, was forced to battle the blaze alone. While no lives were lost, an underlying truth died that night, the remaining illusion of mutual respect between Moscow and Beijing. According to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, Moscow could not have been unaware of which ship was at sea. The trajectory indicates this was far more than a simple coincidence. Navy spokesman Dmytro Pletenchuk was sharper still, noting the sheer absurdity of hitting a Chinese ship with a Chinese crew immediately before a high-profile state visit to China. It was, as he put it, classic Moscow diplomacy. Yet, Beijing's response was a masterclass in cold calculation. They dismissed the attack with a single sentence, offering no condemnation and no formal protest. Instead, they let the leverage mature. Exactly 24 hours later, on May 19th, the very day Vladimir Putin landed in Beijing, Reuters dropped a geopolitical bombshell. A leaked report, backed by 3 European intelligence services and internal documents, revealed that the Chinese People's Liberation Army had secretly trained approximately 200 Russian soldiers in late 2025, some of whom had already returned to fight in Ukraine. Timing always carries a message. While the West meant to expose China's fallen mask of neutrality, Beijing weaponized the disclosure. The silent message to Putin was unmistakable. You hit my ship, but I am the one training your soldiers. I hold the strings. It was a brutal countermove designed to remind Moscow exactly who needs whom. What looks like a partnership is actually a control mechanism. To understand the sheer desperation of Putin's arrival, we have to look back exactly 1 week prior. Same Beijing red carpet, same Xi Jinping. But sitting across the table was a different actor, Donald Trump. Trump did not come empty-handed. When he stood up from the table, he had secured a concrete, measurable $17 billion annual agricultural deal and a massive 200 aircraft order for Boeing, alongside a firm promise from Xi to visit Washington in September. It was a transaction negotiated from a position of ultimate strength, backed by the alternatives available only to the world's largest economy. Now look at the contrast when Putin entered the same room 1 week later. He didn't just bring diplomats, he transported Russia's entire state apparatus to Beijing, including Dmitry Peskov, Sergei Lavrov, Igor Sechin, Alexei Miller, and Oleg Deripaska. The Kremlin spokesman admitted, "We have very serious expectations. But look at the structure of that trade. Russia brought oil, gas, and coal. Raw materials Beijing was already buying at a steep, heavily exploited discount. While bilateral trade more than doubled from 2020 to 2024 to reach $245 billion. Russia sells raw materials, while China sells technology and manufactured goods. This does not read like a balanced ledger between equal partners. It reads like a colonial economy. The most painful corner of this picture is the Power of Siberia, 2 pipeline. Putin has desperately pursued this deal for years to redirect frozen Siberian gas away from Europe and into his war budget. China's response has been a prolonged, agonizing stall. Beijing's terms are ruthlessly transparent. They will not invest a single yuan of their own capital. Russia can build whatever it wants at its own expense. And when the pipe reaches the Chinese border, Beijing will dictate the price. While Gazprom eagerly announced a memorandum of understanding, the Chinese state media entirely omitted it. Not a single word came from Xi Jinping's mouth, and there isn't even a signing ceremony photograph. As Chatham House analyst Timothy Ash observed, Putin needs this deal far more than Xi does. Russia has officially become the small dependent partner. At this point, we need to open the map and look closely at Russia's east. The true trajectory of this relationship isn't being decided at glittering Beijing summits. It is being written across the vast geography stretching from Vladivostok to the Ural Mountains. When Western corporations abandoned Russia in 2022, Moscow opened that massive industrial void exclusively to China. Advanced economic zones for Chinese investment were established across Siberia and the Far East. By 2023, the critical port of Vladivostok was opened as a transit hub for China's domestic trade. Today, Chinese firms are systematically extracting timber, coal, and minerals. But these resources flow directly across the border to feed China's manufacturing engine. The demographics along the border reveal an even more stark reality. The Russian Far East is rapidly depopulating as younger generations migrate westward. Directly across the borderline lives a Chinese population of over 100 million people. This massive demographic chasm is quietly being filled by Chinese capital and labor. In the border city of Blagoveshchensk, intensive Chinese language courses have begun in schools, and visa-free entry agreements have been expanded expanded. Beijing is demonstrating a fundamental truth of realpolitik. You do not need to send an army to absorb a country when investment, infrastructure, and demographics can achieve the exact same result. Now shift your focus north to the Arctic. China has officially declared itself a near-Arctic state, despite sharing no physical border with the region. The Northern Sea Route, running directly along Russia's Arctic coast, cuts the maritime journey from Shanghai to Rotterdam by 40%. China has framed this trade corridor as the Polar Silk Road, the polar extension of its Belt and Road Initiative. In 2025, Chinese shipping giants COSCO and Nunu Shipping completed a record number of voyages along this route. Western sanctions have severed Russia from global data providers, leaving Moscow entirely dependent on China's domestic navigation satellite systems. Today, Chinese firms are actively constructing their own dedicated docks at Russia's most critical Arctic ports, while extending railways deep into the region. As industrial analysts note, China is not merely leasing a rite of passage. It is embedding itself directly into the physical foundations of the infrastructure. Russia possesses neither the money nor the technology required to build these networks alone. China's offer is always the same: let me invest. But history proves that Chinese capital is never free. To understand why this is happening, you have to look back at the historical cycles governing this frontier. In the 19th century, Tsarist Russia exploited a weakened Qing dynasty, seizing more than 665,000 square miles of territory from China through unequal treaties, a landmass that constitutes today's Russian Far East. Though the Soviet regime promised in 1919 to return these territories, they ultimately reneged. Beijing has a long memory. In 2023, a prominent Chinese media figure's detailed post openly discussing the historical reclamation of Siberia went viral across Chinese social media. It serves as a clear indicator of how deeply these territorial grievances sit within the collective cultural memory. The current diplomatic dynamic also evokes the infamous 1904 Dogger Bank incident. During the Russo-Japanese War, the Russian Baltic Fleet, sailing through the North Sea, panicked and fired upon British fishing boats after mistaking them for Japanese torpedo vessels. It triggered an immediate international crisis, but the Russian Empire at least possessed the sovereign wealth and global standing to undergo international arbitration and pay heavy financial compensation. Today, Russia strikes the commercial vessel of its primary ally, yet lacks the fiscal liquidity to even offer damages. Furthermore, the party across the table is not a historic rival like Great Britain. It is China, the single actor upon whom Russia's entire macroeconomic survival now depends. Those familiar with the collapse of the late Ottoman Empire will find this dynamic deeply familiar. The pattern of mounting foreign debt, compounding military defeats, and a growing structural dependence on foreign powers mirrors the exact path that led the Ottomans to lose their fiscal sovereignty through the establishment of the Duyunu Umumiye, the Office of Public Debt. While Russia has not yet crossed that final threshold, China's quiet corporate expansion in eastern Siberia, its aggressive infrastructure demands in the frozen Arctic, and its tightening commercial terms in every single energy deal make the direction of the trend undeniable. Putin claims he is partnering with China to forge a multipolar world order, but the data proves he has merely built a unipolar dependency. Only this time, the pole is not Washington, it is Beijing. The China-Russia Limitless partnership isn't limitless. The only limitless thing is Putin's concessions. What do you think about this shift in global power? Is Russia running out of time, or can Moscow find a way out of this economic trap? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. We will see you in the next video.